The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Maricel Halili. Some fresh economic data from the PSA. The country's economic growth slowed to 4.3% in the second quarter of 2023. This is much weaker compared to the 6.4% gross domestic product or GDP growth in the first quarter and the 7.5% in the same period last year. The biggest contributors for the second quarter GDP growth are services sector, including the accommodation and food service industries. The weaker growth, though, is attributed to factors like inflation, the lag effects of interest rate hikes, the slowdown in government spending, and the absence of election-related spending. So far, the Philippines' average GDP growth in the first half stands at 5.3%, lower than the government's full-year target of 6 to 7%. According to NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, the GDP will have to grow by at least 6.6% in the second half of 2023 to achieve that target. President Bongbong Marcos insists that the Philippines did not agree to remove BRP Sierra Madre from the Ayungin Shoal. This comes after the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs reaffirmed their position of owning the Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. They also cited promises allegedly made by the Philippines to tow away the vessel, which serves as the latter's outpost in the disputed waters. In a video released by the Presidential Communications Office, Marcos strongly rejected China's claims of any agreement about the vessel. This comes after the Chinese Coast Guard fired water cannons at Philippine ships on a resupply mission over the weekend.
I'm not aware of any agreement that the Philippines should remove from its own territory its own ship, the BSP Sierra Madre, from the Ayungin Shoal. And let me go further. If there does exist such an agreement, I rescind that agreement as of now.
The Philippines and the United States joint maritime patrols in the West Philippine Sea are expected to begin by the end of the year. The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea says discussions on the joint sails are now in the advanced stages. The joint patrols are expected to help promote freedom of navigation in the disputed waters. It is also expected to prevent future incidents, like when the China Coast Guard recently water cannoned a Philippine vessel on a resupply mission. Former Defense Secretary Orly Mercado has earlier said that the Philippines must ally with other countries facing issues with China.
Yung mga bansa na mayroong mga problema with China on the South China Sea, dapat yan you should move not as lone wolves or paisa-isa. Dapat yan sabi niya, you must move as a pack. Tapos meron tayong defense understanding, mutual defense treaty with the United States, that an attack on any of our vessels is an attack on both countries.
Yes.
And we can invoke that kung atakin tayo.
Mercado also noted that the Philippines did not commit to remove BRP Sierra Madre from the area as China claims. For his part, former presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo challenged Beijing to show proof of the Manila's commitment to remove the vessel.
Dapat ang China, ipakita nila na may dokumento showing na nag-commit tayo. Ipagpalagay na po natin na may commitment nga. Nag-commit ako noon dahil yung kalakaran noon, the circumstances warranted my observing that commitment of mine. But the circumstances have changed. Hindi na po pwede. Sapagkat meron ng arbitral ruling na amin talaga yun eh.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Maricel Halili. Rice prices continue to soar this month, but consumers may have to dig deeper into their pockets soon as palay prices have climbed to a record high. In just a month, prices of imported rice increased by 7 pesos a kilo. This brings the total range to up to 45 to 65 pesos per kilo, from just around 40 to 58 per kilo last month. Local rice, meanwhile, jumped by 6 pesos, bringing the total to almost 55 pesos per kilo. Some rice millers warn, though, that these are still expected to increase in the coming months as prices of palay reach a record high of 39 pesos a kilo.
Na nambentahan sa ganitong lean months, ngayon lang nangyari yung ganyang kataas. Ang pinagbabasihan ng pagtaas ng palay at ng bigas natin dito sa Pilipinas, yung tinanggal ng gobyerno, yung buffer stock natin sa NFA. Kaysa ngayon na nagbabase ang presyo ng bigas at palay natin sa imported. Napakataas ng imported ngayon. Kaya doon sumusunod.
With this, the Federation of Free Farmers warned that prices of rice could climb to 60 to 66 pesos. That's if the country fails to replenish its supply of the staple. Despite this, President Marcos, who also sits as Agriculture Secretary, assures that the country has enough buffer stock to last until next year, despite the threat of El Nino. The agency, for its part, believes that these rice price projections are still speculative at this point.
Hindi dapat natin in-speculate yung mga ganyan na bagay kasi marti ang effect sa ating mga kababayan. So, but sa nakikita natin, sapat.
It's not all bad news for consumers, though. Here's some relief for Meralco customers. The power distributor is slashing electricity rates for the month of August. Meralco announced that it is cutting power rates, this time by 29 centavos per kilowatt hour. This means that households consuming 200 kilowatt hours a month will see a 58 peso reduction in their monthly bills. Those who consume 500 kilowatt hours monthly will be paying 145 pesos less. Meralco says this rate cut is because of lower generation charges. On the entertainment front, voice talent and content creator Inka Magnaye has signed a contract with Warner Brothers Philippines for her upcoming DC role. Inka will voice Kaji Da or Scarab in the Philippine release of the Disney film Blue Beetle, which will be released on August 16. The character will be assisting lead Jaime Reyes, played by Cobra Kai actor Xolo Maridueña, in learning his superpowers. According to Warner Brothers Philippines digital marketing manager Bonch Santos, Inka was their only pick for the role. Inka is the first Philippine-based Filipino talent to provide a voiceover for a Disney film.
We were all just kind of like quiet and floored and also excited. Like it was just generally like a feeling of disbelief and amazement.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 11:15 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Maricel Halili. We are One News, all sides, all the time.